My name is Genevieve, and for years I had found pure contentment in my quiet, tree-lined suburban home, a sanctuary built not just with bricks and mortar, but with the steady companionship of my golden retriever, Sunny. Sunny wasn't just a dog to me, he was my shadow, my confidant, my furry, four-legged alarm clock, and my evening snuggle buddy. A gentle soul with a tail that never stopped wagging and eyes that always looked at me with unconditional love. I was in my early 30s, a graphic designer who worked from home, which meant Sunny and I spent almost every waking moment together, exploring the neighborhood on long walks, tending to my small but vibrant garden, or simply enjoying the peaceful silence of our shared space. Our routine was simple, predictable, and utterly cherished. I prided myself on being a good neighbor, always ready with a smile and a wave, keeping my property tidy, and making sure Sunny was the epitome of good canine citizenship. He never barked excessively, was meticulously trained, and loved nothing more than a friendly pat from anyone we encountered on our strolls, his calm demeanor and friendly wag usually winning over even the most skeptical of strangers. Then the Andersons moved in next door, a couple named Richard and Brenda, with their two young children. At first, they seemed charming, all smiles and promises of neighborhood potlucks, and I extended my usual warm welcome, offering to help them settle in, and introducing them to Sunny, who, of course, offered them his characteristic gentle sniff and tail wag. But the initial pleasantries soon dissolved into something far more unsettling, a creeping negativity that began with subtle snubs and escalated into outright hostility. The real problem started when whispers began to circulate, tiny little drops of poison landing on the fabric of our quiet community, rumors about Sunny. They weren't just harmless gossip, these were vicious, malicious lies, accusing my sweet-natured dog of being aggressive, of barking incessantly through the night, of digging up their meticulously manicured lawn, and even of being a menace to their children. Each false accusation felt like a personal attack, a wound directly aimed at my heart, because anyone who knew Sunny, anyone who truly saw him, knew these claims were patently untrue. My peaceful home, my haven, began to feel like a battleground, my simple joys replaced by annoying anxiety, and the satisfaction I once found in my life slowly eroded as I watched my dog, my innocent Sunny, become the target of their cruel campaign. I felt completely blindsided and utterly unsatisfied with how things were, my gentle nature warring with a growing sense of injustice. And it became clear that the Andersons, with their false smiles and poisonous words, had become my unexpected nemesis. I wasn't one to back down from a challenge, especially when Sunny's reputation, and frankly, our entire life, was on the line, so I started with what I knew best: communication and demonstration. I tried being polite, approaching Richard and Brenda directly, explaining Sunny's training, even inviting them over to show them just how calm and well-behaved he was in his own environment. I showed them proof of his professional obedience training certifications and pointed out that his barking was minimal, only when someone was at the door, and never for extended periods. I even installed sound monitors to prove his quiet nature, thinking logical evidence would sway them, but they simply dismissed me with condescending smiles, their eyes holding a glint of something cold and unyielding. Their efforts to solve the problem only fueled their malicious campaign, as they spun my attempts to clarify into further evidence of my defensiveness and Sunny's unpredictable nature. The rumors intensified, spreading like wildfire through the neighborhood, with new accusations emerging almost daily, some claiming Sunny had snapped at their children, which was an outright fabrication, others saying he'd destroyed their prize-winning petunias. Suddenly, my neighbors, who had always been so friendly, began to eye me and Sunny with suspicion, their waves becoming hesitant, their smiles strained, and I felt a chilling isolation begin to creep in, making my home feel less like a sanctuary and more like a besieged fortress. The situation became progressively worse, each day bringing a new hurdle or conflict that chipped away at my resolve and shattered my peace. The Andersons started complaining to the homeowners association, lodging formal complaints about Sunny's supposed aggression, and then they escalated it further, contacting local animal control, fabricating stories about Sunny chasing their children and growling at passersby. I faced a series of official visits, needing to present Sunny's veterinary records, his training certificates, and even had to pay for additional behavioral assessments to prove his gentle temperament. Each time, Sunny passed with flying colors, but the stress on him was visible. His once ever-present wag faltered, and he began to cower slightly when he heard the doorbell, anticipating another stranger coming to judge him. The financial burden of all these assessments and legal consultations also began to mount, draining my savings and adding another layer of despair to an already unbearable situation. Despite all the progress I'd made against the external obstacles, proving Sunny's innocence to the authorities, the internal battle against the Andersons' campaign seemed unwinnable. The breaking point arrived one harrowing afternoon when a representative from Animal Control informed me that due to the sheer volume of complaints, despite their lack of verifiable evidence, Sunny was now on an official watch list, and if one more credible complaint was lodged, he could be declared a dangerous dog, which could mean being muzzled, confined, or even, in the worst-case scenario, taken away from me. My world crumbled around me. The thought of losing Sunny, my gentle companion, because of these spiteful people made me feel a raw, visceral panic. All my efforts, all my love, all my attempts at reason had failed, and I felt utterly powerless, certain that all was lost and my beloved companion's future, and my own peace was hanging by the thinnest of threads. I couldn't let them win. I simply couldn't, not when Sunny's very life and happiness were at stake. I spent sleepless nights agonizing, my mind racing through every possible scenario, every desperate measure, until a cold, clear resolve settled within me. I needed undeniable proof, something so concrete that no amount of their deceit or manipulation could twist it. I remembered seeing discreet outdoor cameras advertised, disguised as ordinary garden lights or small birdhouses, and a plan began to form, a risky, last-ditch effort to expose their lies and protect my best friend. I invested in a state-of-the-art security system, carefully positioning several small, high-definition cameras around my property, focusing on areas bordering the Andersons' yard and their front entrance, making sure they were virtually undetectable. For weeks, I meticulously reviewed the footage, hours upon hours of mundane daily life, hoping for a sliver of evidence that would exonerate Sunny. What I uncovered was far more insidious than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just about their malicious rumors. It was about their active, calculated campaign to frame my dog and their own outright illegal activities. The cameras caught them in a shocking series of acts. I saw Richard, under the cover of darkness, creeping onto my lawn and scattering rotten food scraps near my fence, clearly intending to attract vermin and blame Sunny for the ensuing mess, or to create a reason for him to bark, though Sunny, bless his heart, ignored the foul offerings. Then, the footage revealed Brenda, on multiple occasions, deliberately trying to provoke Sunny from their side of the fence, making loud noises, and even tossing small pebbles over, all while Sunny simply looked confused or ignored her completely, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was not the aggressor. But the footage didn't stop there. It painted an even darker picture of their character. I had noticed a recent spate of package thefts in our usually safe neighborhood, and my cameras caught Richard Anderson on 3 separate occasions, casually walking up to various neighbors' porches, including another house just a few doors down, and coolly snatching packages right off their doorsteps before sauntering back to his own home as if nothing had happened. They were also caught regularly dumping their overflowing garbage bags into my waste bins, and even into my compost bin, something I had been wondering about for weeks as my bins were always inexplicably full. A petty but continuous act of disrespect and laziness. The most damning evidence, however, came from a seemingly innocuous conversation the cameras picked up on their porch, where Brenda, frustrated that Sunny wasn't reacting to her provocations, complained to Richard. "He's just too well behaved. How are we ever going to get rid of that dog if he won't give us a reason? It's just not fair that her dog is so perfect when ours is such a terror." They then discussed a plan to accidentally leave their gate open, hoping their own unruly dog would cause trouble in my yard and they could somehow blame Sunny for it. The motive was clear: a petty, venomous jealousy of Sunny's good nature and my peaceful life. Armed with this undeniable video evidence, time-stamped and crystal clear, I knew exactly what I had to do. I compiled all the relevant clips, creating a meticulously organized folder of irrefutable proof, and I scheduled separate meetings. First with Animal Control, then the Homeowners Association, and finally, directly with the local police precinct. The animal control officer, who had previously seemed weary of the ongoing complaints, watched the footage with growing astonishment, his expression shifting from skepticism to utter disbelief, and then to righteous anger as he saw Brenda attempting to provoke Sunny and Richard scattering food. He immediately retracted Sunny's dangerous dog watch list status and apologized profusely for the stress they had caused. The Homeowners Association Board, equally appalled, viewed the clips of the trash dumping and the malicious attempts to frame Sunny, and they assured me that appropriate actions, including fines and strict warnings, would be taken against the Andersons for violating neighborhood codes and perpetuating false accusations. My final stop was the police station, where I presented the evidence of the package thefts, a far more serious matter. The detective assigned to the case reviewed the footage, his jaw tightening with each passing minute, recognizing Richard Anderson immediately as the perpetrator in multiple recent theft reports. Within hours, a patrol car was dispatched to the Andersons' home, and I watched from my window as Richard and Brenda were confronted, their faces paling dramatically as they realized their elaborate scheme and their other crimes had been exposed. Richard was taken into custody for questioning regarding the package thefts, and Brenda was issued a formal warning for harassment and attempts to provoke an animal. The sheer poetic justice of it all was overwhelming. Their own calculated malice had become their undoing, caught on the very technology I had installed to protect my innocent dog. The aftermath was swift and satisfyingly decisive. Richard faced legal consequences for the package thefts, and word of their malicious behavior and criminal activities spread like wildfire throughout the neighborhood, much faster than their original false rumors about Sunny. Their reputation was utterly shattered. They were ostracized, their once friendly facade now revealed as a mask for deceit and malice. Within weeks, the Andersons' for sale sign appeared in their yard, and soon after they moved away, leaving behind a silence that was far more comforting than the false pleasantries they once offered. My home returned to its peaceful sanctuary, Sunny's tail wagged with renewed vigor, and my heart, once heavy with worry, now felt light and free. The neighborhood, realizing the truth, rallied around me and Sunny, offering apologies for their earlier suspicions and showering Sunny with extra affection. I had found a strength I didn't know I possessed, a fierce protective instinct that taught me to stand up for myself and those I love. I learned that sometimes, the only way to fight darkness is to shine a light so bright it exposes everything hidden within the shadows. My new normal was one of renewed peace, but also a newfound vigilance, a quiet awareness that not all smiles are genuine. As for the cameras, I kept them running, a silent, unblinking guardian not out of fear, but out of a quiet understanding that sometimes, the best revenge is simply living your best life, safely and happily, with your best friend by your side, knowing that truth, eventually, always finds a way to reveal itself. And just when I thought the chapter was completely closed, I received an anonymous card in my mailbox a few months later, from a neighbor who wished to thank me. It contained a small, crisp photo of Richard Anderson, now working at a local fast food restaurant, clearly struggling, and a handwritten note that simply read, "Justice served cold." The universe, it seemed, had its own way of ensuring poetic consequences.